Hey, welcome back.
Hello. How you going?
Yeah, how's it going, Felix?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, just chilled. Was doing a lot of dev work for myself, really. But yeah,
Interesting.
I mean, we got fun things in the crypto space in general, right? So it's good to always to keep updated.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
mm,
There's an absolute mountain of information we have to ingest like every single day.
that's it,
It's very
exactly.
hectic. Do you wanna introduce the room and what we're gonna do?
Yeah, guys, no worries. So yeah, obviously, I think you guys can see my name's Felix. This is Dan. We're here from Ledger, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. I already see a couple of questions in chat, so keep them coming through. We'll try to answer them as best we can. I think we always mention don't try not to. Please, actually, not try, but please don't give out your 24 words. Don't try and sign any transactions you do not trust. I think a new one that I might mention actually is please not to. If you find a crypto app that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I think I want to talk about this later if we get some time, but it relates to people pretending uh, to offer MEV on stream. So
Sounds good.
yeah, first thing I wanted to well, let's start with the questions before we go too far. First one was from Tom's Crypto. This one's I was really stoked to be able to answer this one.
Go for it.
That you have a question. You have Binance Peg USDC, so USD coin, and you want to swap it to USDT on as an ERC20 token. So I'm assuming specifically that's Ethereum mainnet, but that can actually be for most EVM chains. The answer would be pretty similar. Which swap website can you use with this transaction? So there are a couple potential ways that you could do it, depending on what's supported. There is the option to do it in Ledger Live if you'd like. If you wanted to use a website in particular, though, there are lots of options as well that I use quite regularly. Multi-chain, AnySwap, Across.2 are all potential options. It's just about making sure you know which exchange or which bridge rather uses what, and which one you'd prefer, and the pros and cons of each individual one in particular. So those are the ones that I have come across before personally. You can always put them onto a centralized exchange as well. Actually, that is definitely something that you might prefer to do as well if you prefer the centralized exchange process. But a couple of options there, hopefully, for you there, Tom's.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay, next question. And guys, if you have any questions, me and Felix will be here until 5 p.m. CT, so about an hour, give or take. So don't hesitate, just post everything below. As usual, we'll go through as many as possible. So the next question was from Dwani Beasts. Would you be supporting X Gold coin in Ledger? And I was looking up X Gold coin, and it looks to be an XRP token. So one of those for which you need to set up a trust line. So yes, they are not supporting Ledger Live currently, but I do think that you should be able to custody those on your Ledger device, but you will need to set up a trust line via a third-party wallet called XRP Toolkit. We do have documentation on the Help Center on how to use XRP Toolkit, and I do think XRP Toolkit has specific documentation on how to set up a trust line. Once you've done that, then you'll be able to custody your X Gold pretty much in your Ledger wallet, although it will not appear in Ledger Live, but the private keys will be inside your Ledger device, which is the most important.
All right. So also we have Gerald Williams. They mentioned they just mentioned dedicated iPad app. Been asking for 6 months now. Now, yeah, totally can understand. Wanting to have that wouldn't be something we can necessarily say is like really close or really far or whatever it might be. But I mean, we definitely always pass on the feedback. It's not something that we would be able to test with or are testing with at the moment. So I totally understand though the iPad. Honestly, when you think about it, and tablets in general, are a really good platform for, let's say, I would always imagine point of sale systems and things like that. So it's totally valid feedback, and I'll make sure to really push that and pass it on for sure.
Yeah, I wonder, like, does it not work at all? Because I don't own an iPad, so I've never tried Ledger Live on it. But is it like it doesn't work at all, or like it works but it's kind of janky and the display's all over the place, or maybe both?
Exactly the latter, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are tools that you can use because I don't have iOS at all either. There are tools you can use to emulate the environment that you'd use on an iPhone, but it's not the same as operating from like a dedicated iPad app, which would make some good sense there as well. It's just that, yeah, it can work if there is something that goes awry, though. It's not something we can actually support directly because we don't have QA testers and things like that that would be working specifically for that in particular. So yeah, totally valid feedback. I would love to see that yeah, like I said, POS systems would be a really interesting place to see the use of a ledger device, things like that.
Absolutely. And okay, so then we've got, well, Gerald with a couple of shout outs. So, hey, Gerald, thanks for the shout out as well. And then we've got Lucas. Hello, I've got one question. If I choose a passphrase, can I recover the wallet with any device, not just Ledger or Trezor? Because the BIP39 protocol offers only 24 words. Yes, so you are correct. Both Ledger and Trezor support passphrases. The passphrase doesn't have to be on the BIP39 list. It can be any word that you want. And yes, you will be able to recover the passphrase accounts on a Trezor, Ledger, and there's probably a bunch of third-party wallets as well that also support the passphrase. So yeah, that's the beauty of the BIP39 list. Really, is it's a standard across the entire industry. So you're able to recover your private keys on all the compatible wallets.
Right. So after that, we've got a couple of GMs. Good mornings, hellos, Wild Bill, Sergio, Lukash following up as well. Then we have Dwani Beasts. They mention, would you be supporting XDC and Casper inside Ledger? So first thing I'd mention there is that you should, Casper, I have to double check off the top of my head actually with Ledger support, but definitely you should be able to manage XDC with your Ledger device. Oh, same with the Casper as well. If you specifically mean when or would we be supporting it within Ledger Live in particular, it'd be something I'd have to say again, unfortunately, with as with all the when questions, that I wouldn't be able to give a time frame for that. But yes, we always pass on that feedback. We always try to put out a list internally of all the things that you've mentioned in particular. So sorry, I couldn't be more specific, but yeah, definitely something we can pass on. If you're not sure, you should be able to use XDC with a number of apps that would support chains like XDC or networks like XDC, and same with Casper as well. There's a Casper web wallet for Casper in particular.
All right. Okay, and then we've got a couple follow-up questions from Dwani Beasts about VChain support and VT. Yeah. So VChain basically also supported by the Ledger device, but not supported by Ledger Live. So again, that's one of the things that should be on the list. Not on the list yet. I mean, it will be supported by Ledger Live eventually, but again, it's difficult for us to give any time frame or like promise any delivery date on that. For now, I would suggest do use the Sync app, and actually Sync got a new release called Sync V2, and that one is really good because it also supports VChain tokens, and we have documentation in the App Center that talks about how to manage VChain tokens with Sync V2. So check that out. It might be very, very useful for you.
So, and that seems to be the current theme. We got Gerald asking for HBAR support within Ledger Live. I think you corrected yourself that it is supported, and it is indeed. Just that you need to use an external service just to when you're creating the account for the first time. Just as a heads up there. Same with swaps for Cardano in particular. No time frame. I hate to say. And support for KDA as well, Cardano. It's all I will have to bundle them into the one in terms of not being able to provide an like a specific time frame, but I've already jotted these all down in answering them. We do have a question here though from Mondo Burger, and you mentioned, is it safe to enter a seed phrase into a Ledger device whilst it's connected to the computer and the internet? And indeed, 100% it is. And the reason for that is because the recovery phrase, the seed phrase, mnemonic phrase, doesn't leave the device, even if it's connected to the computer that's connected to the internet. It might be something that if you don't trust, that you might do as another way to mitigate risk, but totally unnecessary. You'd still need to connect it to your device, connect you to, let's say, Ledger Live. If you're updating apps, you're going to be connected to the internet anyway, and the recovery phrase never leaves it as well. The thing that if we're going to extremes, you might be worried about, someone like having a camera that looks into the room, that kind of thing. But that's going kind of extreme, if I'm honest. So totally safe to enter the recovery phrase into a Ledger device. No worries about that at all, especially even when it's connected to the internet.
Okay, cool. The next question was Gerard. Oh no. No. Sorry. The next question was a follow-up from Beast. XRP Toolkit Wallet. Yes, that's correct. It's the XRP Toolkit Wallet. So by the way, you don't have to. It's not the software wallet, but it's the desktop browser wallet, which you can connect your Ledger device to, and then you'll be able to connect your XRP account, your Ledger XRP account, to XRP Toolkit Wallet, and then there is a function in there that will let you set up a trust line with X Gold, and and then you'll be able to custody those coins through there. If you need more information, feel free to send us an email at support.ledger.com. Then you can post your ticket number here in the chat, and then we can follow up with more precise instructions if you need help.
All right. So next we've got, I'll run through two things. Bungalow just mentioning that they ordered their Ledger stacks and that they're very excited, as are we. I'll actually run through what you've mentioned, Bungalow, below as well. But I wanted to answer this question from Flying Puma. You mentioned, I'm new to the sphere. Is it possible that a Ledger has been tampered with, for example, has a set passphrase, and that you got your Ledger from Amazon? Now, it is possible that a Ledger has been tampered with, but if that were the case, it'd be something that you'd be able to know about. So, for example, if the Ledger had come with a passphrase, a mnemonic phrase, seed phrase, recovery phrase, you would then be prompted to enter a PIN. If you get this and you haven't, gotten the recovery phrase from the device already, this is going to raise huge red flags, and you can make sure to not, enter any funds into that device. It doesn't mean that the device is insecure. It would just mean that someone put, their own recovery phrase or a recovery phrase that they know into the device, and they're hoping that you put your money in there, and then they can take it out to their own addresses managed by a different recovery phrase right away. That would be the way that they try to gain access to your funds in that way. If it had been tampered with, in terms of the firmware, software, in terms of the hardware, it is actually something that we would be able to check for when you're using and managing a Ledger device. They go through a thing called a genuine check. It's something that you might be able to see explicitly done when you're setting up the device for the first time. And it actually checks both the hardware and the software. So even if, you've gotten it It doesn't ask for the recovery phrase, for example, but I mean, it doesn't ask for the PIN, so it hasn't been set up with a recovery phrase, but somehow someone tried to alter it in terms of hardware or software. It is something we'd be able to know about basically when you're using Ledger Live or anything like that. So these are already things that had been considered. No, I wouldn't worry about those. So buying from Amazon, totally legit place to buy your device. Just make sure when you purchase it, when you've gotten it, that it's not asking for a PIN already. If it has, you can reset it, normally entering a 3 pins incorrectly into the device. So hopefully that answers that one for you, Flying Puma.
Okay, very good. And then next was Chad. Hi there. When will you support swaps into ADA? I would have to check if it's not currently possible to swap via the swap button in Ledger Live. It might already be possible via something like Changely. Not that I would recommend specifically Changely for this kind of swaps. I think there's like a lot of different options that you can choose if you want to swap from one crypto to another, like including ADA. So for example, like I would suggest something like ThorSwap. I do think they support ADA. I would have to check though. There is another one called Rango. Rango is actually pretty good when you want to do like cross-chain swaps. So you want to swap, for example, BTC for ADA, or like any other, any cross-chain swaps really. We have documentation on the Hub Center. Again, it's called Rango. It's completely compatible with a Ledger device. So check that out, and that might answer you need here.
You can actually also swap with a Ledger device with dexes on chain. So like Sunday Swap, I think ADA Swap is another one that with the Ledger device, but that would need to use a third-party wallet, something like Eternal, Nami. So totally possible within Cardano as well. So if that's what you mean in particular, it's also an option you can potentially consider as well. But back to Bungalow, they mentioned that one of the original designers for the iPod, lead designer, I think it's Tony Fadell's the name, led the process design for the stacks and makes it a collector's item. He mentions, aside from being an incredible product. So love the enthusiasm for that one for sure. Yeah, I guess I don't have much to add on that one really. I guess we're a bit biased though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for the product. Like I can't wait for it to be shipped. I know it's been delayed. Is it public now? Like people got the email, right? So yeah, again, like the delay was on my side. It was not completely unexpected because I know that the team just want to ship like a product that works and that will make you happy guys like out of the box without any issues. So if what it takes is just another couple months of development and just making sure that everything is ready and your first impression of the device is positive, I think it is better to delay the product. I know it's disappointing, but in the long run, we want to make you happy as customers, and we want to deliver good products, not rush something through the door and eventually end up with like tons of issues and things that don't work. So yeah, understandable, the frustration for sure. But again, like this is for, the bigger picture has to be like we have to deliver good products. So that's the reason why it was delayed.
Right. So next question that we got. Hello, this is a Cyrillic name, so I wouldn't be able to answer this one. That you have a problem swapping staked ETH, STE ETH, to ETH in Paraswap with the Ledger Nano S in particular. You're getting an error message that says device does not support NFTs. It might be something we can help with. You might need to get a hold of us, maybe support.ledger.com. We might be able to try to give you a hand from there. My general tips might include making sure everything is up to date, Ledger Live, Ledger device firmware, as well as the Exchange app as well, Ethereum app too. But I think as a workaround, if you need to, you can always use it outside of Ledger Live. And it's totally possible to connect with, let's say, third-party wallets with Wallet Connect, MetaMask, to use DEXs if you're making a swap from STETH to ETH. So totally something you can work around. And if you get a hold of us, we'll try to sort it out for you, sort out the issue for you directly for that one as well. So if you don't know where it is, support.ledger.com, bottom right-hand side for the contact us button as well.
Okay, and then we've got a follow-up question from Chad about the swaps. Is there a swap limit per day per transaction? Could I do 100K at once? Okay, so there is no swap limit per day. However, like I would definitely okay, so if you're gonna do a swap of that size, you have to be aware of something called slippage. Slippage is a concept where, the bigger the size of the trade, the worse the execution you're gonna get. So, you might execute at a price, and then once there is no more seller at that price, then you will go at the second best price, and then the third best price, and then the fourth best price until the entire order has been swapped. So typically that means that you will get like a less and less good rate for the size of the transaction. So that's something that you really, really need to be aware of. Like, if possible, I would say like just segment the transaction, the swap into like different sections and just wait. Don't do everything at once, like 100K at once. The second thing you need to be aware of is that if you use the swap button in Ledger Live, that will, the default provider here is Changely. Now, Changely is a third-party exchange that does KYC checks on swaps, right? And so they have compliance systems. If you swap 100K, it's possible that Changely will flag this transaction as potentially a compliance issue, and then they might freeze the swap and ask you for KYC. So I just want you to be aware of this possibility, right? Because Ledger doesn't make a good job to explain that that can happen with some swaps, but we feel at Support that you guys should be aware of this kind of stuff. It's explained, it's in the terms and conditions if you read them, but it's not obvious to the customer. So what I would say is like if you have like $100K to swap, assuming that is the swap that you want to do, I would definitely say like just segment the swap across time. And I would say don't necessarily, like plan out the swap, across, don't execute like the 100K at once. Or if you do, just be aware that Changely might flag the swap as a potentially compliance problem and then might ask you for KYC. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Also, there is different alternatives to Changely in Ledger Live that you can look at. So for example, if you want a completely decentralized swap, so that assuming, for example, you're swapping within Ethereum ecosystem here, then you might want to look at something like PairSwap or 1inch that will offer like a completely decentralized alternative to Changely. So just be aware of those different options and swap size and everything. Just trying to make sure that you get the best execution on this trade, man.
Right. So MG actually recognize your username in particular. I do remember you asking, I'm not sure, I think I remember mentioning if you could get a hold of us directly. It might be something we might want to go into directly. You've mentioned that you're having problems with CKB, that is in particular that the token enters an address on your ledger because you have to connect your ledger to receive, which is a good sign. But when you want to export to a platform, the address does not correspond. That is definitely not a good sign, but it's definitely one thing I'd want to really go into depth. Basically, the address or any addresses, any transaction parameters that you might use are going to be the ones that are clear signed. When they're clear signed, are going to be the ones that you the trusted input on the screen on the ledger device in particular. So if something is not corresponding on the ledger device that it is on a wallet, it's definitely something to look into. That's not to say, we have to count out things like, if your receive address has changed, if there's a change address as well, but definitely is a huge red flag if your receive address or a sending address is different on the trusted screen than it is on the on a third-party wallet or Ledger Live in particular. So there are a bunch of potential differences there that we would definitely want to look into.
All right. Then we've got Dusko asking when HTS support. I'm not sure if you're familiar with HTS, Felix. I was looking it up.
No,
Couldn't find anything.
I'm just going to see if we can get MG to get us to raise a ticket. If he's already raised the ticket, we'll see how we go. But yeah, HTS,
It doesn't ring a bell at all.
no.
Yeah.
I guess we're lagging behind on that one, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, that's possible. So maybe wait, Dusko, if you could drop the coin market cap link of that token like into the chat so we can take a look at it. If it's supported, we'll let you know. If not, we can just add that to the list of pending support.
Maybe Hedera tokens. He mentions Hedera token service. That's
Could be. Well, in this case, like you could use something like Hatchback. I'm guessing to store those into your Ledger wallet.
Right. Where did we go up to? There we go.
Are you sharing the link with MG?
No. I was going to try to find the next question. Where are we, Faraday?
Oh, Faraday, the Faraday box.
We find, should we store our ledger Nano S in a Faraday box? It's not necessary at all. I think we answered the question on Friday, actually. Totally not necessary. If you want to, I don't see a specific issue why not. But yeah, it's totally. I would consider it overkill. I just carry them around in my either pocket or backpack or whatever, and it's totally fine. No worries about that one at all.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. I do have a Faraday box, but at home. But yeah, I do think it's like a little tinfoily to just put it in there.
It's something to. I mean, if you're playing around and you are doing experiments, if you're developing using trying to use like NFC, Wi-Fi, whatever, it'd be cool. But yeah, no, not necessary at all. It doesn't leave the device. The recovery phrase doesn't leave the device anyway, so you have nothing to worry about there at all.
I just wanted to address like Tesla's question as well regarding the stream, the unauthorized stream on the YouTube channel. So there wasn't a hack. Just to be clear, there wasn't a hack of the. So in the name of transparency, right? Because this is one of our values at Ledger. So I think I should address the question. There wasn't an authorized stream, but it wasn't from the account. Someone misplaced on our team misplaced a stream key on a personal computer, probably that was infected with malware. Somehow someone got a hold of that. And so we ended up with someone managed to stream from the account. And like our team like immediately sprang into action and we were able to stop the stream. And now we've taken like precautions so it doesn't happen again. But yeah, in the name of transparency, like to be honest, this happened, but for sure, like we've taken all the precautions necessary to make sure that this is not gonna happen again. And like things we do now, we just reset stream keys every single time. So this is something that happened, but this is something we should not see again on any of the streams. So again, guys, be very, very careful. Like scammers will find like different ways to try to get to your recovery phrase. Again, never share your 24-hour recovery phrase, right? You're safe as long as you don't share it. Don't fall for scams. Don't fall for scammers DMing you on YouTube, on any social media platform, DMs, on fake website. As long as you keep those words secure, then you'll be fine and nobody can touch your funds. It's when you get into hairy situations if you start sharing a 24-hour recovery phrase with someone, okay? That's the only way you can get scammed. So just keep that in mind. And again, I thought I would acknowledge that just for the sake of transparency, because again, this is one of our values and I don't think there is anything wrong about saying what happened, and also saying that it's not likely to happen again because we've taken all the security precautions so it doesn't happen. So yeah, again, stay safe, guys, and I wasn't skipping a question. Here we go.
I think staying on just the topic of scamming in general, it's something that I've seen recently is just people popping up with promises of high profits from MEV, and essentially they're asking you to. They might have you download a particular package or play with a certain token as well, that kind of thing. And I think it's just all comes down to if it's too good to be true, 40K profits in one day. Yeah, of course, like definitely it's very, very likely it's going to be a scam. Even if MEV is a thing, it doesn't mean that people are going to be out there leaking alpha like that for even $100 a day. Why? Like, what is the incentive for them to do so? So just a heads up there about that on that topic. But if we keep going, we've also got Tom's Crypto. Oh, sorry, Gerard and Tom's Crypto. I'll get to you both. Gerard, you mentioned you were able to buy crypto, but not anymore. Why is that? It's generally going to be related to what service provider is going to be able to allow you to buy crypto, depending on location, locals, and regulations and things like that. So something could have changed. Not sure if that would have been the case here. If you're having any particular issues in terms of buying crypto, it might be something we'd want to run through with you further. Like if you're getting a specific error message, if it's grayed out in particular, is generally going to be due to the service provider's regulatory requirements and responsibilities. And with regards to Tom's Crypto, we did indeed answer the question. You can use a number of DEXs and swap services, whether that's something like a cross-to, AnySwap, multi-chain, or Changerly, or a centralized exchange, just to go over that quickly. But we did go over it early in the video, so you can jump back and check that if you want to.
All right, and then we've got Khalifa Al-Sada. If I receive crypto, for example, ETH on Ledger Live while I was not connected to the Ledger stick, does it automatically go into the stick Ethereum app when I connect and sync with Ledger Live? Yes, that's correct. So you can send crypto to your address, even if the Ledger is not connected or not switched on, because the transaction actually happens on the blockchain. So the coins don't actually go into the device. They are moved on the blockchain. The device is just here to secure the private keys that will let you spend from your accounts, but the funds moving, that transaction will happen entirely on the blockchain, so separate from your Ledger device. I think that's a common misconception that coins go into a device, or that some people say like you have to keep the device online or connected to your computer to receive coins, which is absolutely not the case. Again, like the device stores the private keys, and all the transaction, all the state change, all the blockchains going from your account has nothing to your account has something. This happens entirely on chain, independently from Ledger Live or your Ledger device.
All right, there's two questions here that I want to go through as well. John, you've mentioned my Ledger Nano X is 5 years old and you never update it. Does it still work? It might not work straight out of the box because updates are very, very important. It would be something that I'd normally suggest that you do update. Now, if you have your recovery phrase, you definitely should be able to manage your funds. So there's no issue with that whatsoever. So if you get it all updated, the Ledger Nano X, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to use it to manage your funds going forward as well. Also might depend on the health of the battery, but it can be a case-by-case basis. I've had mine for a while, like a long time now, and it's all been working fine. So it does depend there. So hopefully you do have the recovery phrase, get it all updated, and you should be able to still manage your funds from there. Another question that we got was from Jinx. You mentioned, do you either of you, Ledger, I'm assuming have an affiliation with Ledger Market Pass NFT. So that is part a Ledger Market is a section of Ledger. The Ledger Market Pass NFT is a specific product that they have released. You've mentioned that you'd like holders would like more than being first to buy new or limited edition Ledger devices. Collabs were misleading on what we'd get. It is something that I totally understand. We can definitely pass on that feedback. I don't see like that's 100% valid in terms of what you are hoping to get versus that. So no worries at all. We'll make sure that's definitely heard. No worries about that whatsoever on my end.
Okay. I think MG had a follow-up question. I don't know if that was connected to your question.
I think so. I did scroll down, and he hopefully can write you a ticket. If you do mention the ticket number MG in the chat, I can try to pick up the ticket straight away, and we can actually have a chat with you specifically as well if you want. So feel free to do so as well.
Okay, sounds good. So next question is from Gregory. Hello there. I have transferred Zcash to my Ledger wallet since it's been a week and the transaction is never confirmed. How can you guys help me? So Gregory, I would like to know what you mean by the transaction is never confirmed, because that could be related to the fees. However, it's been a week, and you still don't see the transaction in your Ledger, in Ledger Live. There could be two things here. Either you send from an exchange that actually botched the withdrawal and the coins never made it to your wallet, so you might want to check for that. Whoever sent the transaction, you should check if they actually send the transaction, because that can happen. The second thing that could happen here is you send Zcash from a shielded address to a non-shielded address. In this case, Ledger Live has a bug where basically it will not show you de-shielding transactions. So like those funds going from shielded address to a transparent address might not appear in Ledger Live. This is a bug that we are aware of. We're trying to fix it. It's actually pretty difficult to fix. So, but yeah, we have like a few engineers working on this issue, and we'll try to improve the Zcash user experience in Ledger Live, because I know you guys have been waiting for better experience as Zcash users. We're aware of that, and hopefully we can fix that as soon as possible. Felix, I don't know if you have any updates on that. I know you're deep into Jira's.
No, nothing in particular that I can give. I'm honestly, like, I feel a lot of pain for these guys. It's there's not a lot of ways around it as well. Definitely get a hold of us, and then I can actually that way we can actually go through. We could actually let you know when it's completed and resolved, or as well if we need to, and go through steps to get around it as well if you're really desperate to get a hands on those assets as well. So that's probably normally what I'd suggest as well.
Okay.
So next up is Yatath Joshi. You mentioned when will the ledger stacks be able to be bought, and that you're from India. I think the only thing that I'd mention would be that the ledger stacks is something that you can pre-order. I think they've sold out on the card purchase, but you should still be able to get them. I haven't checked them recently, let's say on secondary market like Rarible, to get the redemption token in particular. So if that is something you want, you can definitely try that. I would also check, I'll have to check the unavailable countries as well for Ledger sending us prices, because need to make sure. Don't want to get your hopes up at all or anything like that. There, Yatati. No, it doesn't look like you're on the list, so you should be all good to get that received. Just a heads up about, I think some users do experience having to pay import fees and import tax and stuff like that, which we wouldn't be the ones to be able to pay.
Okie doke. We've got tons of questions. I realize we only have 20 minutes left and tons of questions in the chat.
Yeah.
So Dimes is sending some shout outs. So hey, shout out to you, Dimes. Thank you for coming to the AMA. I actually really like doing those AMAs. I don't know you, Felix, but I think it's a super cool way to provide support. You have an AMA tomorrow, by the way. You'll be showing us some cool stuff. So check that out as well, guys, if you like the AMAs. Bungalow is excited for the ledger stacks whenever it's ready. Better to have something. Yeah, well, so that's what we were talking at the beginning of the stream. It's delayed, yes, but it's for a good cause, and the good cause is just to make sure that you guys get a good device, functional, without bugs, something that you can proudly show to your friends and use safely. So that's the reason why it's been delayed. Dimes is saying that Ledger Extension Connect for mobile, excited for the MetaMask Mobile plus Ledger release. Yes, we are too. No idea when that's gonna happen. It's been ongoing for a lot of time. I know we've been like, okay guys, soon. To be fair, we have no idea when that's gonna be released. I hear like some rumors that it might be soon, but again, like it's been a year that we say soon. So how soon is soon? This is still to be decided. The Ledger extension, though, we have more control over that deadline, just because we are the sole developers of that. And this is coming. Actually, it's in beta right now. It's functional. If you sign up for the beta, then you can already use it with dApps like PairSwap. I think potentially OpenSea as well. This we'll have some communication about this. The product is approaching like final release, so yeah, stay tuned. And this is also a cool way to connect your Ledger device to dApps. That will probably improve the mobile experience as well, which is something I'm super excited about because it's not good for now.
Right. Let's see if we can get some rapid fires as well. How do I get my Ledger passphrase so you can connect it on mobile? Definitely one thing to mention is that you wouldn't be getting a passphrase from the device. You would be inputting a passphrase onto the device. If you're hoping to get a C phrase, a mnemonic phrase from the device, you can't. That would be a potential security risk. So if you want to confirm the recovery phrase that the device is set up with, you can potentially use the recovery check app. But we would also never recommend that you put your recovery phrase on the mobile device, on any digital device at all, actually. So hopefully that's not too quick. Dimes also, with regards to the Genesis Stacks Genesis NFT, will these have long-term support and utility from Ledger? I'm not sure if you mean the Genesis Pass in particular. The Ledger Stacks is a redemption token. So those are two separate things in particular. Hopefully, if you want to get the Ledger Stacks, you can use the redemption NFT. If you have a Ledger Markup Genesis Pass, that's a separate NFT, actually. MG, hopefully that you do let us know via the support ticket as well. So yeah, hopefully we can hear from you for that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and next we have, Expert Design. Staking DOT is safe through Ledger. Yes, it is absolutely safe. We have documentation on staking DOT. Just be aware that staking DOT is not as simple as Solana, for example, or like Cosmos. There is a bunch of conditions. Like there is a minimum amount of DOT you need before you're able to get some rewards. The current amount is, I would say, if you have less than 300 dots, then it's not it's not worth staking at all. But you might consider staking within a nomination pool, which is like a smaller, staking method. I would say there is documentation in the App Center on both staking normally and also nomination pool, so you might want to check that out.
All right. So next is Kenny Bausch. I did see both of your questions there, but in essence, you're not able to send near to an exchange. You've got a message, a byte array longer than desired length. Definitely get a hold of us for that one. We definitely potentially want to have a look at what might be happening behind the scenes for Ledger Live in particular. Normally just making how general things is, making sure everything's up to date. But assuming that's all sorted, yeah, definitely get a hold of us. I think we already sent the link for MG for support.ledger.com. We always want to hear about these things ASAP so that we can try to fix these as well. In all likelihood, you should be able to use third-party apps to actually manage it, potentially with the Ledger device. So hopefully we can get you sorted there. Tom's Crypto, yes, we did indeed answer your question. You should be able to scroll back and double check that if you need to as well. Although, Yatati, you do mention that you're having trouble sending BTC from the Ledger Nano X. The synchronization shouldn't be an issue at the moment. I've definitely had mine up for some time now. But if you're still having issues, again, get a hold of us. I'd definitely for the Bitcoin not synchronizing, I'd make sure everything is up to date. I know that there was API that was deprecated for particularly old versions of Ledger Live. And so if you have an older version of Ledger Live, it won't necessarily know to look for, the latest versions of the device firmware for the application. And those APIs would have been deprecated so that you might not be able to sync everything correctly. So that would be the first thing that comes to mind for you, Yatath. If your BTC isn't able to sync. Otherwise, it's definitely something we'd want to know. BTC would be affecting a lot of people. We do have bots running tests all the time, but it might be something specific as well. So if getting everything up to date, so just go to ledger.com and updating it won't help. It's something we'd want to hear from you about 100%.
Okay, and then we had Nuntana. Need to update Ledger firmware, but do not have desktop. Can it be updated with an iPad? No, it cannot be updated with an iPad. If you have a Nano X, I do believe it can be updated via Bluetooth, but with an iPhone, that's possible. If you have an Android phone, then you can connect your Ledger device to the Ledger Live mobile app on your phone via the cord, this cord, for example, and then you'll be able to update the firmware. Do the firmware updates if you can. Those are very, very important, guys. Like, firmware updates are they improve security overall of your device and introduce new features or lay the ground for new features. So definitely do them as soon as possible, as soon as they release. They're safe, okay? So, unless you don't have your 24-hour recovery phrase, in which case you might want to hold on to the updates. But if you do have your Ledger 24-hour recovery phrase, do update. It's pretty important. It guarantees it guarantees compatibility with Ledger Live as well. So yeah.
All right. So Corey did mention that AVAX support is on Ledger Live Desktop, but the app doesn't sync or play well with mobile. That is unfortunately because there are some delays in terms of when you submit an application to, let's say, Play Store or the App Store, and they have to get approved and things like that. So generally speaking, when we do update Ledger Live Desktop, that's the quickest and easiest one for us to deploy updates for. The next is generally going to be mobile after that. So heads up for that one. But that'll be basically the next ones that we expect to be coming out, essentially. Tom's Crypto, again, we did answer the question. Hopefully you would have picked it up by now.
I think it was the first question you answered on the stream, Felix, right? So Tom, you can go back and listen to that and you'll find the answer. Then we've got WSIOM. When do you expect Caspa to be added to Ledger? I have to admit I'm not familiar with Caspa, so just looking it up real quick. Felix.
While we're going, we'll go to NY saying when you copy a CRO address from Ledger and paste it to Coinbase, it tells me it's an invalid address. It'd be definitely making sure which network you're sending it on. That'll be the first thing that comes to mind, whether it's a crypto.org address or a Kronos address, which are two separate networks in particular. Might be something that you can liaise with Coinbase about, but obviously we're always here to help as well. If you send us a support ticket, we might be able to help, but that's exactly the first thing, because Kronos, crypto.org, different chains. Kronos start with 0x. If I remember correctly, I always get these confused, and crypto.org starts with CRO in particular. Next, Jinx, thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you. We appreciate it. And DeFi Chris also asks, when you're connecting the LNX, Ledger Nano X, to MetaMask, there's a drop-down with 3 options: Ledger Live, BIP39, BIP44. What's the differences between the options? Essentially, derivation path. Making sure that the wallet, Ledger Live, MetaMask, Tally-Ho, whatever, is looking in a particular cryptographic space, essentially, to look for your public-private key pair. That's why there's a Ledger Live option. BIP39 has a standard, and BIP44 has a standard as well. That's the quick one for that one in particular.
Awesome. I think we can slow down the pace now. We're pretty much back on track. Okay, so next is Rob T. This one is all caps. Is there any mistakes a Ledger owner can make other than giving seed phrase to get hacked? I think that was worth the all caps because it's a very important question. So yes, so of course, like, giving your seed phrase is one of the biggest mistake that a Ledger owner can do, because the person will have access to your private keys and will be able to drain your funds even though they don't have access to your device. But there are other mistakes you can do regarding the recovery phrase. So for example, taking a picture of your recovery phrase, or like typing the recovery phrase into an app, or like basically creating any digital copy of your recovery phrase might expose your phrase to be accessed by anyone, like an app on your phone, for example. Like, some apps will request access to different apps on your phone so they can all communicate with each other. So if one of your apps stores the recovery phrase and one of the other app on your phone, like request access to that app, then that app now has access to the recovery phrase as well. And who knows, that app might be malicious and communicating with a hacker that will gain access to your phrase. So that's another big issue. Felix, I don't know if you want to add to this question. It's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's always. I could talk about this for days. In fact, I'm actually doing like an internal presentation. We hope to share that like externally as well about all these different ways, and it comes down to like it could be like something within an ERC20 token. It could be something in terms of a service that asks you to sign for something that could take your funds. It could be these are especially prevalent, I think, on EVM chains in particular as well, being that Solidity is, Solidity, half whatever, you can use it across a lot of these different similar chains. So signing transactions is, I think I always mention at the start of streams, 24 words, signing transactions. And I think the most recent one that I seem to be coming more across is dev focused packages that you might use as a dependency that essentially would scan your computer, might have some kind of access rights to scan computer for private keys, anything with a high level of entropy, for example. So there are some ways. I mean, with the packages, it won't necessarily affect you with the ledger device, being that the private keys are always offline. So that's generally going to be okay, but it's generally going to be some kind of deception related to like when I sign, is it what it says it is? So like, am I minting or is it actually just sending my funds away? Am I, claiming an airdrop or same thing? So that's generally the angle that most attackers go with in particular.
Absolutely. I think I can add one more to the list would be address poisoning as well. So Rob, if you do get like dust transactions into your ledger device, sometimes that might look like a just fee transaction or cent transaction that you don't recognize. That might be because a scammer basically sends you a dust amount of token to log their address into your transaction history. Now they're just hoping that you will get a little complacent or a little lazy and pick up their address from your transaction history and send them the funds. So again, like just make sure to observe good best practices when it comes to sending and receiving tokens. Don't ever it's recommended not to copy paste addresses from your transaction history in Ledger Live, but always use the send and receive button. And always check every single character on the address that shows on your Ledger device just to make sure you're sending to the right person. Because again, scammers are really, really good at forging addresses that they control, but that might look very, very similar to your address. So for example, it might have the same first 4 characters, last 4 characters as well. So just be aware of that. And again, just always verify all different characters on the ledger screen. Sorry, that was a long answer to this question, but always good.
All right. Sorry, I just got sidetracked. Okay, here we go. MG, thanks. We got that ticket. Rista Tiov, you mentioned you have problems with ADA and DOT on your ledger. Might be good to a red exclamation point. That's generally going to be in relation to a synchronization issue. You should either be able to click on it to have it resync if necessary, but a lot of these times it's about it's either going to be one of 2 things in my experience is that Ledger Live isn't up to date, or there's a or actually 3. There might be an actual outage, which is rarer, but can happen. And also could be some network conditions as well. So behind a VPN, behind a restrictive network, that kind of thing. So those are the first things that potentially come to mind. I can't, based on what you've mentioned so far, it's a little harder to actually get it fully resolved just like that. But those are the first things that I think of.
Absolutely. We've got PsychoSmile69. When is the card for Ledger coming to the USA? I do think the USA is next on the list. Europe is going to... No, sorry, the card is actually live in the UK, being rolled out. It's a little slow, but it's being rolled out currently. then I think the next continent will be the US, just the United States of America first, and then the EU, and then the rest of the world. Again, guys, this is a hybrid traditional banking to crypto product. So there is a lot more red tape when it comes to banking services than there is when you just want to deploy a dApp onto a network. So that's why it's taking more time. But yeah, we're getting there. We'll let you know when the US is made available.
All right, I'm just going to answer the last couple questions because I think we should have a hard stop, shouldn't we?
Tom
in
Cam
about
has a
minutes.
good question, I think, on Zcash.
Yeah, that they they mentioned to us. I think I'd want to mention, I feel like we asked for a ticket number? I'm not sure if we got that previously. I'm not saying you didn't receive it, didn't send it, Dom Khan, but if you can as well, that'd be great. We can try to follow that up in particular. In particular, you mentioned that you were having different balances across mobile and desktop. Desktop was fixed and the amount appeared in a couple of days, but a couple of days ago, you got a message that a couple of blocks could not sync and that 2 of your transactions disappeared again from desktop. Yeah, it's definitely something we can try and continue to talk to you about. Zcash has been, as you might imagine, quite problematic. I'm sure you've seen it for yourself in particular. So definitely, not sure if you're able to send that to us at all, Tom Khan.
Then you've got a follow-up question from DeFi Chris. Follow-up question: is there an advantage of picking one path over another in MetaMask?
You would choose Ledger Live if you want to choose the same address that you are using in Ledger Live. But if you are using, I've actually used the other derivation paths if I'm wanting to use, if I'm wanting to mess around with a specific thing. So it's definitely something you should totally be able to do. No worries about that. I think a really quick question: when is the bridge for everything coming? Psycho Smile 9069. That's probably $1 trillion question. So that'd be really cool. Hemel with the shout out for your haircut as well, by the way.
It's an accident, but thank you. I appreciate. I'll take that as a compliment and not sarcasm.
Thanks, Tom Khan, by the way. I picked that up for you as well, by the way, Tom Khan. Thanks heaps. I'm signing myself right now.
We've got a question from WSYM. Caspar, you didn't answer my question, guys. Caspar announced that it had been put forward to Ledger for it to be integrated back in December 22. Okay, that's probably on the developer side, so guessing like it's going through the integration process and the review and everything. Typically, this process can take a long time. There is a lot of back and forth between our team and, in this case, the Caspar team, just to make sure that all the tests are being conducted, that the integration is safe, because that's our main concern always is safety and then UX and things like that. So, that's why it takes time. Honestly, December 22nd might seem like a long time because we're already in March, but there has been integrations that have been pending for much longer than that. Again, I know it's super frustrating for the community, but it always comes from a place of we want things to be safe before we, release stuff and, they turn out to be unsafe or dangerous to use. So again, totally understandable, the frustration and the impatience, but at the same time, guys, we always choose security over rushing products out of the door. So yeah, bear with us while Ion, we'll get through it.
So I actually meant to type in chat for you, Chris Miner, because I can see your question in terms of that you've been having issue with the last update, like Nano X freezing, attempting to add crypto apps and says it's locked. If you can drop that case number in the chat, I don't see it in particular. It only came up with the smiley face for me, but essentially that's what I was asking for. And Tom Khan, yes, I've definitely assigned that to myself. So we can try to have a chat with you about that for going forward.
Awesome. We've got a case study from Chris. We get this. Thanks, Ion. Yeah, thank you all guys for participating. If your question didn't make it live, then no worries. You can catch us tomorrow. Felix will be doing a live onboarding. Felix, do you have anything special in store for us tomorrow?
I want to be talking about this MEV scam. I'm going to try and have to watch these weird YouTube videos that people put out about making 40k profits in one day, which you know, entirely. Please don't download it. But yes, MEV is a whole nother vibe. So it's a crazy thing.
Yeah, sounds good. Don, just quick one. Don, yes, 500 dot is okay to stake, but you have to select your validators carefully, right? Not all of them will give you good rates, and some of them might take like 100% commission. What I can recommend is JACO, JACO, no affiliation whatsoever. It's just my little secret when it comes to dot staking, but JACO is really good. But there's another, like a lot of other validators that will give you good rates and are also very reliable. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Again, we really appreciate that you consistently show up to those streams. We'll see you tomorrow at, is it 5 p.m. CT, Felix?
Yeah, 5 p.m.
5 p.m. CT. Okay, very good. And if you need anything else in the meantime, you can also post like some comments in the video below when you go live. And yeah, we'll pick them up tomorrow as well. Thank you guys a lot, and see you tomorrow.